All right. Is it good for me to start?
You're ready. Yes, take it away.
Okay, perfect. I wanted to build off of what Amy was talking about just a minute ago with the controls, and then I'll move on to our draft public report. With the date ranges, she showed how you can select the dates, and there were just a couple things that may be helpful with the date controls. So she had, she was up here where it was fixed, and you can pick the date, and you can always do that anytime you go into that. Once you set up a control, you can always pick the date. And then it also has a couple of like just easy things that you might want. So I often look at month to date or quarter to date or occasionally year to date as well. So I love doing that. And if it's something that you almost always use a certain setting, you can set up a default. So it just automatically is auto, and it'll let you just pick whatever date range you want by default. But if you go over to the setup, so when you go, okay, so when you set it up, this by default is auto date range, but you can set up your default. So for this one, I usually look at this pretty frequently, so I'll do month to date, and then it'll just automatically go month to date. I might have to exit out and come back in for it to save those settings. So I really like that feature. And then I noticed I kind of half did this, the sample help desk. We do this for a lot of different areas too. We do it for the phone calls we receive that are, so our receptionist will log her phone calls. We do it for complaints, public records requests. We pretty much every area we have. We also do it for staffing. So we to record our internal turnover. So pretty much, I'm trying to make sure that I set this up similarly for all our programs, just to give you a couple extra ideas. But on this one, I kind of wanted to add a couple of things before we move on to that public report. So I wanted to show if data was not coming up just right the way you wanted, I wanted to show you a couple of different ways that you can change some of those controls. So here on this, it's showing the unique identifier. So in that help desk file, I have some sample data where like this might be the child record that we're going into. And you can see those are like ID numbers, but we don't really want like sums of the unique identifiers. Like the total of this doesn't matter, but I really care, okay, I have 4 selected here. And so it's the same thing here. You can see there's a comma, and over here in the metric, you can see that it's adding that up. I don't want to do that. I'd rather have it counted. So I can change that by coming in over here, which is one of those things that we did with Amy, where it was showing count of distinct, but we wanted the actual count. The other way that it can be changed is if you go back to your data source, you can see here this unique identifier is a number, and it's showing as the default aggregation would be a sum total. But because of the type of number it is, I would rather have it count those numbers. So then when I go to add anything about, if I go to add a chart later on about this, it will automatically go by count, but I can always change it one by one. If I have a lot of these where I'm doing this a lot, it's going to be a lot more efficient to change it in the data source. So I wanted to also add a time series chart. So with the help desk, or if we're recording phone calls from families or whatever we're doing, we're also looking at like workflow and what are the busy times. And so I was going to add a chart for time series so that we could look at this over time. So I can begin to understand kind of some of the patterns in our help desk. So as you can see, this shows the dates specific dates are not always helpful to me when I'm looking at dashboards. I usually want to aggregate the data. I can drill it down a little bit more, but for this purpose, I'm going to just maybe look at the month. So I'm going to come over here to the dimension and change the date so that it's just showing the year and the month. So now I'll have, okay, so now it's October, November, December. And because I have this date range dimension here, it's connected to the control. So if I remove this, then it'll look at all time. If I want this chart to be impacted by that date range control, then I'll just make sure that the date is in there. So if I change the date on this, so now instead of looking at just this quarter, let's look at this year. So instead of, see how it's October, November, and December down here, now it'll go from January to December. So I can get a better look at workflow to say, okay, maybe we need to put more help desk people on during September because that's our busy time period. And maybe June is a good time to do some maintenance because we get fewer tickets and, you know, just kind of help plan for things. The other thing, since it was mentioned about the IDIO conference, there's a lot of stuff that I learned there as well. Nicholas did a really great workshop around data visualization and just making things a little bit easier to look at and know what that data means right off the top, you know, right off the top first visualization. So some of the things that I don't like about this, just by default, it has the legend right here about the unique identifier. You also get that information when you're interacting with the chart. So I think it's kind of redundant. So I'll probably get rid of this just to make it a little bit easier. And then the grid pattern back here kind of is cluttering up the visual field. So I'm going to go to style and just kind of change a few things till I get it how I want it. So first we're going to get rid of that legend. And down here it's the legend, and it'll let you put it wherever you want. But I'm just going to get rid of that just to make it a little bit easier. And then I'm going to clean up the background a little bit by making it transparent to get rid of those grid lines. Not get rid of the grid lines. Somewhere else? Oh, grid up here. So I'm going to make the grid transparent. So it just makes it a little bit easier. And then when I'm going to print this out, it will make it a little bit nicer to see as well. So that's a couple things on that. And when I'm walking through this with our programs, I literally I wait for other people to talk. When it's my turn to talk, I'll have this done, and I'll if I'm talking with program A, for instance, I'm having a meeting with program A, I'll just filter this with program A, show my screen just like we're doing right now, and talk about, okay, these were the help desk tickets we saw, you know, and start to get feedback or share technical assistance with them on how to reduce some of those errors that would be fixable. So I really like it for that. And they want this too. So there's different ways to share. Depending on the purpose, I might schedule an email delivery. If it's something that has sensitive information, I'll schedule an email delivery just to our internal leadership, so our Part C coordinator gets it and they can see all the programs. If I'm sharing with program A, I don't want them to see program B and C because I don't want them, you know, it's kind of just like we wouldn't share information on personnel issues because we have contracts with them. I'm not going to share other contract issues with them. So in that case, I would just download the report, and if you have multiple pages, it'll ask you which pages do you want, and you just click share. It takes a second. It prepares the PDF, and then it'll be ready for you to download. So then you can share this with whoever it is that you want to share this filtered view. You don't have to filter it. You can also share the unfiltered view, just depending on what your business needs are. So I really like that. So I'm gonna close that out. And before I move on to the public report, I don't know if there were any questions about like the sample help desk dashboard or anything?
Nothing in the chat yet, but we definitely encourage folks to come off mute
Okay.
or put something in the chat if it comes up.
Okay, and we can come back to if you have something. So I'm going to move on to the next report that we have. It's our public report, and I just wanted to kind of highlight a couple features that I really like. Dashboards are really wonderful. You can see sometimes I do have some text on there, but this is not like, if there's a lot to say, this is not always the most efficient way. Sometimes you might want an introduction to your dashboard. So what I've done with our public report, for instance, there's like a lot of information I want to tell them, you know, if somebody's reading this for the first time. So you can do a page that's just entirely text and not any dashboard. So that is kind of nice if you needed to have an introduction to kind of make it a more well-rounded report or dashboard. And so I'm going to go into a couple of the federal indicators that we have on our dashboard so that we can go over some things. So one of the things, you know, fixing issues is really nice, and it's like a one-time thing, because if you reuse your dashboards over and over year after year, it saves it and it remembers it, you know, going forward. One of the things that I've done is, let me go back into edit so you can see the behind the scenes. So you can, with optional metrics, you can interact with them in different ways. So when we're meeting with our stakeholders, I will literally walk through this data. I do use the DaSy meeting protocol. So we'll talk about, okay, what are your first impressions with this data? As we go through the data, I might say, okay, here's what our target has been. How does that compare? And being able to really control and only show certain pieces of the data at a time is really helpful, because if I were to show all of this at once, somebody might get very overwhelmed because there's a lot of things going on and it might need some explanations. So then, you know, after we look at where our data is, where the yellow line of our target is, then we'll talk about what like national averages are. And so I've gotten these from the SPPAPR indicator analysis. That one runs a little bit behind because OSEP has to wait for all the states to report on our APR. So we don't have our FFY 2021 data to compare to other states because we're all still in the middle of reporting that since it's due February 1st. So I do like that aspect, and it helps when I'm presenting data. Some of this stuff down here kind of can get a little bit cluttered. You can see like this report's kind of lacking on space, so I can easily resize it if I need to. Obviously, these program letters are just placeholders. Since our data is not yet public, I want to make sure that I'm not calling out any agencies specifically. So I'll usually use these letters, and then I might change to a different field later on, so that when I'm ready to publish this, it actually says the name of our program, you know, the name of each program rather than just the letter placeholders. But I don't like this down here, so I'm going to just go over to style and kind of just like I did with the help desk stuff. I just play around with the settings till I get it the way I want to. So I want to look at the x-axis. Is it the x-axis? 0 to 1. Yeah, and it's right now it's auto and it's going by 10. So let's just change it to 20 and see if that looks okay. It's a lot less bunched up. 20% can be a little bit strange. So if 25% looks better, then you can see it's kind of divided up into quarters. But it's a little bit, either way, it's a little bit easier to see instead of having all that data bunched up. Let's go and look at another indicator. This one, there's a couple other.
Andy, I just wanted, before you move too far from this one, we do have a question in the chat about if you could share approximately how much time it took to complete this public report, are you able to give that kind of sense?
It took a couple hours. The public report is one of the larger reports. So like the help desk, just doing this, when I set this up for somebody, I can do this as quick as 15 minutes, or I can do it in an hour. You know, it just depends on how little or how much time you have. Sometimes it's hard to know too, because like I might have initially spent, you know, a chunk of time, like say an hour, but then I noticed something I didn't like, and so I changed it, and it was like a 2-minute change later on. So it's not something you have to dedicate a lot of time right to. You saw how easy it was to change and just to create a chart that, you know, it just evolves over time, I would say. So this report probably did take me a couple hours. In the past, when I've done public reports, it's taken a lot of time because I had to go into Word and type it up and then make sure the charts. So all this time you spend fidgeting in charts and different applications, that only worked once a year. So it took longer for me to do the public report in the past than it has the last couple of years, because I've just been able to literally copy and paste this and add a little bit of data, not anything crazy. I did not show you that with the help desk, how easy it is to add data and see those. So I don't know if you want me to go back to the help desk or wait and come back. I'll probably come back, just since I'm talking about public report. I don't want to keep jumping and making it confusing. But one of the things, like if you're looking here, I don't like this. I love the scorecard comparison numbers. It's super helpful to me. I mean, you can see, okay, this went down, but how much did it go down by? This is the same information. So I love the scorecards, but you can see the decimals are not the same. So I do like to go and at least try to make sure the decimals are pretty similar. So when I go to the style settings right here, the primary metric, I can change that to make it 1 decimal place if I wanted. But I don't know, I prefer 2 decimal places. So I'm going to change the comparison metric and make that also 2 decimal places, so it makes a little more sense. So even though it was 0.8, now it's 0.80, and you know that it's a little more precise. So I like that. The other thing over here, you can do your data in a lot. You can do it as percentages. You can do it as decimals, you know, any type of thing. I started this report as decimals, but we report it as percentages because that's just easier to visualize. But because I had it in decimals, down here it's in decimals, and I don't like that. I'm going to change that to make it easier for all our public who's looking at this to see this. So we're going to go back to the x-axis. Nope, just kidding. It's not the x-axis. It's over here, the type of data. So the program performance right now is in a number. It's just in a number, and I'm going to change it to %. So now you can see that it's in percentage here. But now I have that issue where all the numbers are bunched up and I want to spread them out a little bit better. So I'm going to go to the x-axis and change that to match. Oh, one more thing. I know that like you can add multiple pages to dashboards and make it as complicated as you want. So for us, the public report's one of our more complicated reports because it's got all the federal indicators, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know. So we have different pages for those. I don't know, in the last one, Amy and Nicholas, did you guys go over how to create pages?
Briefly, but not to this depth, not managing the pages in the order and
okay.
Stuff. Yeah.
So you can add pages in a lot of different ways. Like a lot of Google products, there's like multiple ways to do things. So when you're in the edit view, if you look at your pages, you just click page over here and it'll show you all the different pages you have. And you can add a page this way. You can also, I think, add a page up here. So if there was different things, you can also add sections, which are these teal areas right here. So you can see like all my family outcomes are related, family survey detail, know they're right, you know, so these are all related, or transition activities. I've got all 3 of my transition activities. I could have them separate, but to me, it makes more sense to have them together in one type of section. And when you're looking at sections, sections become these little things up here. So when I'm looking at transition, now you can see I have all my different charts here. And I don't know how, I haven't done much work to transition or our compliance indicators. I was focusing more on our results indicators. So this one might be a little wacky. So yeah, it's really nice. And you can have this, these tabs anywhere. And you can see I've got one that's untitled, so I might need to fix that. And it's just that it's the same as everything else in here where it's drag and drop. So I'm gonna look for the one that's untitled, make sure that it's really blank, which it is. So I was playing around and did that just a few seconds ago. So I'm gonna delete it and make it go away. Thinking. There you go. So now it went away, but you can also add things to different sections if you wanted. And the way you create the tabs after you create the pages, if you go to theme and layout, so here's the default templates that they have. If you like their color schemes, you can also change them. I've used the color schemes that our agency likes. If you have really good graphic design, you could probably do something even prettier than these. I just have really basic skills, so I didn't. So with your tabs, you can decide, do you want them on the left, the tab at the top? Do you want them? So let me show you what that looks like if we're changing this to the left. So now everything's over here. You can collapse sections, go to the pages, and I'm gonna go back and put that on the top. But there's different places you can put it. You don't even have to have them. You can also hide it if you want. And so it's really easy to make something that looks fancy. Like when people see this looks super fancy to them because like, okay, I've got all these things, but you can see they're just really like, each page probably took me 15 minutes to do. And I started with 1 page and then I went to 2. I didn't have it. I didn't have a bunch of time to sit there and do that. So I just did a little bit at a time. So we've been building our other internal dashboard. So like, for instance, the help desk, that was easy data for me. I'm the data manager, so I have that data readily available. Other data, like what phone calls and complaints we get, was a little more challenging. So I worked with my coworkers to have them put up a Google Sheet to collect their data so that I could put this into there. And
Hey,
what
Annie?
was it that, yes.
We had another question, if you don't mind addressing
Sure.
how you were able to get that little, the colored part of the indicator in
Oh, yes.
the scorecard.
Okay, sorry. I did that so fast. So when you're doing just your simple, so this is just the scorecard metric right here. When you're doing your default date range, this is where you're selecting what do you want the big data to show, and then what do you want it to compare to. So I set this for our federal reporting period. So I just picked the date range, just like I did with those date controls. You just pick what date range you want. Because I use the date that it's submitted, it's a little bit funky, you know, like it's that February 1st through January 31st. But you can do like July 1st, October 1st, you know, calendar year, whatever you want to do. and then you can just compare it to what do you want to compare it to. And so for this, I wanted to do the previous year. You can do a previous period. So like if it's quarter, you can compare it to last year's quarter at the same time, or you can also compare it to last quarter. So just depending on which one you select, previous period would go with the previous quarter, and the previous year would pick that time period 1 year ago.
Thanks. And we, just so you're aware, we have 7 minutes or so left in our workshop time. Is there any kind of final feature that you think would be worthwhile to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to show the live data. Like, you know, we have a couple different staff members who are entering data. So let's take a look. This says 268. So, I mean, literally as they're doing this, it updates right as they're doing it. So I'm just going to go to the end and pretend like I'm adding a ticket. Add something. And then if we go back to here, it says 268. It automatically will refresh every 15 minutes. So you can see this was done a little while ago. I guess maybe not every 15 minutes, but you can always just click refresh data, and so it should go from 268. So it's got one more there now. So I mean, literally, it changes every time you hit refresh. It'll automatically update at a certain refresh period. I might have changed it even to 1 hour. I can't remember, but you can change that, and I think the default's 15 minutes. Unless you hit refresh, then it's instant.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's all.
I'm sorry. One last question, if you could do it fairly quickly, ideally, just to honor people's time. I know a lot of folks are moving to the OSEP call in a couple of minutes. Can you show quickly how to change the decimal to a percentage in the bar axis?
Yes. So down here. Just kidding. Sorry. The decimal is here in the metric. So right here, it usually defaults to number, and you can just change it to percent.
Thank you. Amy, any other thoughts from your end before we switch back to the slides?
I don't think so.
I don't.
Okay. Well, Annie, I really appreciate you taking us on that little